Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Spring 2019 brand clinic for Toad & Co. My name is Nina, and I will be leading you guys through this presentation today. I work over at Toad HQ. I've been there for almost 7 years, which makes me feel really old, but awesome still, obviously. So I just want to know, how many of you guys have heard of Toad & Co before? Great. Every single one of you raised their hands. Fantastic. So can any of you tell me how long Toad's been in business for? No, not 6 years. No, not 10 years, even more than that. 23 wonderful years. Toad has been in business for that long. And out of those 23 years, can anybody tell me how long we have been working towards a fully sustainable line? Nope, not 5 years. Nope, not 10 years. Makes sense though, because it does kind of feel like it's trending, which is fantastic. Lots of other brands are starting to incorporate more eco materials into their lines, but Toad has actually been doing this for 23 years. And honestly, just to give a little bit of background about Toad, I think our motto really says it all. We believe that every single day is an adventure. And we view ourselves as trailblazers, really, in sustainable apparel. Not to say that we were doing it before it was cool, but kind of. We just really pride ourselves on keeping our carbon footprint as clean as humanly possible. And for 23 years, we have been on a mission to inspire people to live their fullest lives, which sounds like a pretty lofty mission, but here's how we think we do that. 3 basic principles. The first one is sustainability. So have touched on that, will continue to touch on that the rest of this presentation. That's kind of what it's all about. Secondly, our clothing is super versatile. So we like to say trail to tavern. We want to make sure that you guys can live a one wardrobe lifestyle, because ain't nobody got time to have 4 different wardrobes for all of the things they do in their daily life. So we want you to be able to go out, chase some waterfalls, dust yourself off a little bit, and go straight into the bar. We don't want you to have to change in between and, kind of have all that fuss. Thirdly, is our social mission. So we really try and use business for good. We have created opportunities for people with disabilities through employment and empowerment, honestly, at our packing facility. So Planet Access Company is our warehouse. It's located in Chicago. And not only do they employ adults with disabilities, but they also work with a nonprofit that helps to put adults with developmental disabilities out in the outdoors. So they get to go out and play where they might not have otherwise had an opportunity to do so. So through those 3 things, I think you guys can agree that Toad has a lot more on the brain than just making clothes. So I do have another question for you guys though. Does anybody know why cavemen are more sustainable than we are today, or were more sustainable than we are today? Think about it. Cavemen, sustainability. There really could be a lot of answers, but I'm looking for one. Anybody? Because they didn't wear clothes. They were naked all the time. Well, maybe they had a loincloth or something like that, but for the most part, they didn't wear a lot of clothes, right? So at Toad, we like to say, go sustainable or go nude. Save the planet, don't wear clothes. But if you're doing a brand clinic standing in a retail store, you probably have to put some clothes on. So we just want to make sure that we are highlighting that the apparel industry is actually the 4th largest polluter in the world. Out of everything that we do to pollute this earth, the apparel industry is number 4 on that list. That's insane to us. And so we really want to make sure that we are doing our part in trying to minimize that. And we've spent the last 20 years learning and adapting our supply chain to minimize that impact, but also set an example for what responsible apparel looks like. We want to make sure that we do our part in saving this planet and saving all of the places that we love to go out and play in. And just a couple fun facts to kind of wrap your head around for Toad in regards to the fibers that we use or don't use. Number one, we stopped using acrylic like 10 years ago, which is crazy. Acrylic is still highly used throughout this industry because it's cheap, it's easy, but my gosh, the toll it takes on the earth is not awesome. We also stay away from other harmful fibers like rayon and viscose. We don't even dip our toe into gray areas like bamboo or silk, where you're kind of like, oh, that sounds sustainable, but then you read into it more and you're like, you kind of get that look of panic on your face. We stay away from that. And we always opt for organic over conventional cotton every single time. So why does all of this matter, right? There was a study done recently that showed that over half of consumers actually are more likely to purchase something from a company that shares their values and beliefs. So whether that be about sustainability, whether it be political, whatever it is. So sustainability matters, guys. It's a selling point. It's a reason for your customers to opt in. It really differentiates us and kind of separates us from the pack, right? So, they see a regular conventional cotton t-shirt or an organic cotton t-shirt from Toad, and we just kind of rise above. So with that, we're going to kind of run through a couple of different fibers, and I'm going to let you guys know why we chose them and kind of all the ins and outs of why it's beneficial for your customers, but also why it's beneficial for the earth. So the first is, actually, no, we have to ask questions. I forgot. So what I want you guys to do is kind of get in the mindset of thinking of the world as a pizza. Sorry, there's no pizza in here, but maybe later. But think of the world, right, as this pizza. And think about every crop that is farmed all over this globe. So like fruits, vegetables, cotton, so many different things, right? Think about all of that. And it kind of boggles the mind a little bit, right? Now, I want to ask you guys, does anybody know how many pesticides are used each year to farm all of those crops? Anybody? No, you're gonna have to guess a lot higher than that. It's a huge number that almost doesn't even register in my brain. 5.6 billion pesticides are used globally each year to farm all of the crops. Well, not all of them, but a lot of crops. Well, anyways, we'll get to that in a second. So now, can any of you tell me, just for conventional cotton, how or what percent of that 5.6 billion do you think are used for just conventional cotton? Anybody? Percent? 5%? No. Higher? 10%? No. Almost, but no. Honestly, it is 16% of that pizza world is used. And let me do some math for you, right? That's 900 million pounds of pesticides just used for cotton. We don't even eat cotton. Cotton is literally like just used to make clothes and maybe cotton balls and filling and probably a lot of other things. But still, just for conventional cotton, 16%, 900 million pounds. So just to kind of wrap our heads around more big numbers, in 2015, 26 million metric tons. Now that's even like so much of cotton was farmed using those pesticides. And for us, we're just picturing all of those chemicals floating around, right? Like that's so much. So the choice seems really clear to us why we opt to go organic. But I want to explain a little bit more about what that means. So by committing to organic cotton, we're promoting water conservation because it's all rain-fed. All the crops are rain-fed. So we do not use any other water sources to grow the cotton. We're also promoting clean air and clean soil. by not using any of the toxic pesticides and chemicals. We also don't use GMOs, which for those of you that don't know, that stands for genetically modified organisms. And we rely on crop matter, crop rotation, composting, which hopefully all of you are doing your composting at home. It's super fun. And also traditional farming methods. So like OG ways of doing things is how we're still doing it today, because honestly, that is what's going to help us preserve this earth the way we want it to be. So I think it's really fair that when you're talking to somebody on the floor about cotton, to kind of pose to them another big number that maybe they can wrap their head around a little bit easier, is to make one conventional cotton t-shirt. It takes over 2,000 gallons of water to make it. That's over 2,000 milk jugs of water to make one cotton t-shirt. So obviously the organic cotton choice with Toad, we use over 90% less water than that, which is another crazy number to think about. So moving on to another fiber that we hold near and dear to our hearts, I have another question for you guys. This one's a little easier, so hopefully the answer will come out pretty quickly. What animal chooses eucalyptus as their main food source? Dude, that was so fast. Yes, a koala, a cute little cuddly koala. They love their eucalyptus. And you know what? Toads do too. And let me tell you why. Because eucalyptus is used to make tencel. And tencel is a fiber that is actually in the majority of top-selling Toad styles. It's used to make our samba fabric. We do a blend of tencel and organic cotton. And that's used to make our chaka skirts, our rosemary dresses, and also our new tempo styles for men. It's a fantastic fabric. We all own it and love it. And we utilize it because tencel has out of this world capabilities. So it's naturally moisture wicking. It's also durable, low maintenance, so multiple wears without washing, and naturally antimicrobial. And it's soft, like koala soft. Are koalas soft? I mean, they look soft. And so basically at the end of the day, it has qualities that are very similar to polyester, but it doesn't feel like poly, right? It's a natural fiber that has a really great drape and handful of silk. And more about the eucalyptus trees, right? So the fiber's great, awesome, but why is it good for the earth? Well, the eucalyptus trees, they require far fewer pesticides than cotton, and they require less acreage and water also. So just a whole bunch less on the grand scheme of things. And also the wood pulp that we get from the eucalyptus trees is processed to make tencel with non-toxic solvents. So it's also a closed loop system. So all of those solvents and byproducts are actually recovered. So we take all of those back in and we use them again for the next round. So there is no dumping, there is no toxicity released, there's no pollution really at all. So loving how we just kind of keep it going and going and going. It's almost hard for me to imagine that we just take all of that byproduct and then use it again and again and again. It's fantastic. So not only is tencel earth friendly, but it's extremely travel friendly. I think that's where you can also relate it to something that would help your customers for whatever they came in for that day. I travel with tencel all the time because as a Toad rep, we wear a lot of samba and we wear a lot of pieces that have tencel in it. And honestly, I pull it out of my bag, give it a little shake, and there's no ironing, there's no steaming, because who has time for that? Nobody. So, you know, the next time you're going to Australia to see more koalas, or kind of wherever you go, honestly, pack some tencel in there. You will be good to go. Okay, another fun question for you guys, right? Can anybody tell me 2 plants that are in the cannabis family? Give you guys a little, oh, you didn't even need the hint. Yes. Marijuana is one of them. Fan-freaking-tastic. Now, what's the second one? That was the obvious one. Now, what's the second one? Hemp. Who said hemp? Yes. Perfect. Hemp is the other plant that is part of the cannabis family. Now, marijuana and hemp, if you've seen either plant, they look crazy similar to each other, right? And while they both have fantastic properties, Toad's loyalty ultimately lies with the hemp. And let me tell you why. So first off, it's responsible for creating a lot of really kick-ass styles in the Toad line. So we have brand new styles that we're utilizing the hemp in, and actually you guys have a couple of them over there and we can pull them out in a second and kind of talk through them. But it also is really strong, right? So it holds its shape like nobody's business. So there's no bagging out, there's no stretching out. It's going to be 100% amazing all the time. And then also from an environmental impact standpoint, it's grown without pesticides, no pesticides at all. We also don't use any synthetic fertilizers, no GMO seeds at all. And it's predominantly rain-fed. So again, just using what nature has to give to it. And it's also important to realize that hemp is a giver, not a taker. We like givers. And this part kind of blew my mind. It's photoremediative. Let's say that. Photoremediative. Translation basically means that it decontaminates the soil that it's in. Crazy. So it takes any sort of pollutants or anything like that right out of the soil, and it actually replenishes the soil with vital nutrients, and it helps to prevent erosion, which also, again, like this plant is literally magnificent. I can't imagine anything else doing that. And naturally, by the way. So if that wasn't enough, and you can tell my energy, I'm super in love with hemp, but if that wasn't enough, it also has a lot of really great natural technical properties, similar to that of the tencel. So it also naturally wicks moisture. It has antimicrobial properties as well. It protects from UV rays, and it's a porous fiber. So I'm sure a lot of you know about porous fibers when talking about hollow core poly and things like that, which means that it's going to be naturally temperature regulating. So it's going to keep you cool when it's hot and warm when it's not. So I think you guys kind of have a really big toolbox to talk to your customers about, all of the great things about hemp. But I think it's just great to reiterate those, that it's honestly nature's most technical fiber. Having that UV protection, moisture wicking, temperature regulating, antimicrobial, everything. It's a fabric that honestly works perfectly for an outdoor lifestyle, but everywhere in between. It's just something you can take with you all of the times. So one last question for you, one last section of this presentation. So hopefully everybody's still with me and alert. Can anybody tell me what the oldest dyeing process is? Oldest color dyeing process is? Indigo, yeah, awesome. So that's fantastic. Indigo is as vintage as it gets. So this process has been around for 6,000 years. I know I'm talking about a lot of big numbers today, but people have been dyeing fabric with indigo, which is a natural substance from a plant, for 6,000 years, which is crazy. And although tradition states that it is natural, there are a couple of new technologies on the market. And we are using a synthetic where most often we opt for the natural version. But in this case, the natural way of doing things actually is more harmful to the planet than the synthetic way we're doing it now. So a lot of times the facilities that are dyeing indigo are unregulated, and they take all of their wastewater and dump it into local waterways. Think about your local river, your local ocean, and think about taking gallons and gallons and gallons of just wastewater and just dumping it right into the rivers. It kind of saddens us and breaks our heart a little bit. But the synthetic actually that we use, we only single dye all of our indigo products. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing an indigo shirt just especially for this occasion. So we're able to single dye. So we are not wasting any water at all by dyeing something multiple times over. We are able to achieve the right color with one dye process. And we also have a closed loop system on the water we use as well. So we don't take that water and dump it into local waterways, dump it anywhere actually. We take it and we treat the water. And by treating the water, we're able to reuse that over and over and over again. So by using this process, we use 90% less water. 90% less water. I know, maybe I should say it a third time. And we also use 25% less energy by the single dye process, and it emits 30% of the carbon emissions compared to natural dyeing processes. So all in all, we are really proud of all of our efforts in this area, but also super proud of the end product. All of our indigo honestly just gets better with age, like a fine wine. The more you wear it, the softer the organic cotton that we use to dye gets. And the color, it just gets this really rich patina over time. It kind of looks like that perfect vintage piece that's in your wardrobe. It's all in all just a really fantastic, aesthetically, but also fantastic for the environment. So I have been up here talking to you guys and asking you guys questions, and I'm almost done asking you questions, but we do have a little bit of a pop quiz, okay? And not to put anybody on the spot, I just want to see how well you guys are listening. And I want to make sure that I've done my job, because if not, we're going to go back through this whole thing one more time. So let's role play a little bit, okay? Let's say that you have a customer that walks in the store. They're walking around, they see a couple cute things on the toad rack, and they walk right on to the toad rack. You head on over, and you spark up a conversation. You say, hi, do you guys know anything about Toad & Co? If they say, no, I've never heard of this brand before, I want you guys to tell me at least 3 things about Toad, just about like the overall brand that you would tell them. Ready? Okay, yup. Yes. Yes. Ooh, I've got more. Okay. I'll take a couple more. Perfect. Nailed it, guys. Okay, great. So you guys are listening. This is fantastic, because that was at the beginning of the presentation. So hopefully it'll only get easier from here. Now, say you have a customer that walks up to the Toad rack and says, actually, I do know about Toad. I have 3 pieces by them. You say, fantastic. Well, do you know that the piece that you're holding is made out of cotton? And they say, actually, yeah, I did know that. And you say, well, do you know anything about the cotton that Toad uses? Can you guys tell me 3 things about the cotton that we use and why it's important for sustainability efforts? Yes. Yes. Guys, you're giving me a warm fuzzy right now. I'm feeling like I did a pretty darn good job since you know all of this. Fan-freaking-tastic. Okay. Now this customer that walks in next is going to be a little bit more complicated. They walk in, they know about Toad, they know about organic cotton, but they pick up a chaka skirt. And you say, great, so you know that they use organic cotton, that's awesome. But this is actually a blend of organic cotton and tencel. Do you know anything about tencel? And they say, no, yeah, I really don't know anything about it. So what are 3 things, at least, because there's so many more, that you guys can tell them about tencel? Great. Awesome. Okay. You guys are firing me up. We have just a couple more to go. So next customer comes in. They know about all of the above. They know about Toad. They know about organic cotton. They're like, actually, I'm a sustainability enthusiast, and I know about tencel as well. And you say, great. Well, Toad just came out with these new hemp styles, and they're fantastic. And honestly, I just learned a whole bunch more stuff about hemp. What would you tell them that you learned at this fabulous clinic that you just came to about hemp? yes, it's part of the cannabis family, but I'm not quite sure they need to know that. But keep going. I like where you're going. Yes. Yes. Ooh, so many hands. All of you guys are right. So many things, so much more than 3 things. And I'm so glad that you guys remembered all of them. Now for the real test, right? So they know about all the fibers, and this person comes in and they're like, I know about all the natural fibers. I know about everything that is made sustainably. You say, great, well, do you know about indigo dyeing? And they say, yeah, that's a natural process as well. And you say, yeah. But actually, technology recently has updated, and there's, ooh, I almost gave you the answer. Well, you told me what you were going to tell them about how indigo does not necessarily need to be a natural dyeing process anymore, and why Toad is taking the other route. Yeah. Okay, so actually, I think I'm going to retire, and you guys are going to teach the clinic next time because you all are experts. Fantastic. I really appreciate it. So now I've asked you guys questions for the last 20 minutes. So can you guys, or do you guys, have any questions for me at all? Anything at all? Fire it at me. Because if I don't know, I will actually go ask and get you the right answer. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We do have a couple leave behind cards to give you. One of which is our, what we call our eco cheat sheet. It talks about some of the great fibers that we use and why we use them. It also talks about some of the other fibers that are maybe not so great, and why we choose not to use them. So you guys will have a little bit of a cheat sheet to kind of stick in your uniform for the day and have on you just in case you somehow forget some of these little factoids. But honestly, even 2 months from now, if you guys just remember that Toad & Co. stands for sustainability, and that when it comes to apparel, we are the Earth's better choice, that's like bottom line what I wanted you guys to get out of this. So again, thank you so much for sitting here, being such a captive audience. I really appreciate it. And hit me up if you guys have anything else. I'll see you guys later. Thanks again.